Here I am just doom scrolling. Kind of just want to read something non-polygamous. What? I want to read something non-political. Oh, here's something non-political. The University of Michigan is going to launch several new anti-racism. Can't even talk today. The University of Michigan is to launch several new anti-racism initiatives. Effort will include expanding existing programs. You better believe it. Now, this is on the 20th of October, and I do believe that the universities will still pursue their push of equity, diversity, and inclusion. It might be the case, here's the strategy, it might be the case that people will be allowed to be more skeptical about this. It's not within the nature of this doctrine or this ideology to allow skepticism of it, but people might be on surer footing now that there is not a Trump presidency in the background. Even if Trump does get elected, it's looking like he's not, I'm sorry to say. It's looking like he's not. Even if he does get elected, it might be the case that it will be on such unsure footing that people will have more wiggle room, but I don't expect that. With the Biden presidency, it might be the case that people will be able to stand up against this stuff that is very cleverly marketed. So a breakdown of the university's new and updated anti-racism initiatives includes creating a task force on policing and public safety for the Ann Arbor campus, hiring at least 20 new full-time faculty members in the next 3 years with scholarly expertise in racial inequality and structural racism. So that doesn't mean necessarily that everybody's going to be a master of racial inequality and structural racism, but they should have that on their resume. I'm betting that, if they're looking for a math teacher, they're going to prioritize a math teacher who has spent time doing certain work that you can construe as having to do with solving racial inequality or structural racism, either on the ground or it does say explicitly right there, you have to have scholarly expertise in that. So maybe write a couple articles, but that's 20 new full-time faculty members with scholarly expertise in racial inequality and structural racism. That's quite a bit. That's going to tilt the ideological landscape of the University of Michigan in a specific direction. Now, scholarly expertise in racial inequality and structural racism is not an apolitical field, as we know. So the political pressure will be brought up higher for people to get on board with this ideology, which is not apolitical, explicitly not apolitical. You can't be non-activist with this stuff. You have to be active, and action is front and center with this ideology. Another thing they're doing is expanding resources and infrastructure to support new and current scholars working in the area of anti-racism. So that's a big bill, 20 new full-time faculty members, and they're going to further expand resources and infrastructure to support this political ideology. They are re-evaluating race and ethnicity curriculum requirements across the university's 19 schools and colleges. Later on in this article, they say explicitly that they are going to inject race and ethnicity curriculum into every facet of these colleges, including STEM. Science, technology, engineering, and math will be explicitly ethnic and racial and anti-racist. They will furthermore be strengthening faculty and staff professional development opportunities related to anti-racism. So everybody will be trained in this non-apolitical ideology. They will be incorporating ways to address structural racism in the university's democracy and debate theme semester. They have these semesters where they focus on being a member of a democracy and your responsibilities insofar as you engage with the political process. And then they're taking that, just basically apolitical, be political program and injecting a specific political ideology into it, which is anti-racism, which is about evaluating everything according to race, which is very racial and racist in its outcomes. They will also be creating a task force that just sends shivers down my spine to develop a community-engaged process for diversifying the names considered for campus spaces, facilities, and streets. So they're going to be, I don't know what color, but they're going to be some color washing all the buildings and stuff. So they're making a big old push towards making racism the cornerstone, or anti-racism, right? But they're going to make race and racial considerations a cornerstone of the college. The pursuit of truth is actually going to be further eroded by this push to make a very politically engaged and politically engaged in a specific way program that infiltrates every level of the University of Michigan. So there you go. That's something that's not related to the presidential election. That will continue apace. The coup de race continues apace. It will. There is a lot of stories having to do with how progressivism is getting crushed. So it looks like if you just evaluate the statistics, or if you make certain evaluations of the statistics, either way, from the left, they're saying, oh my God, white supremacy is alive and well, and people want to be benefactors of this white supremacy, patriarchal, heteronormative society that oppresses everyone. And those who it oppresses, being minorities and women of minority status, are slowly voting more and more for the Republicans, which, from the progressive end of the stack, they're trying to push people off of going in that direction. However, from the centrist point of view, people are, evaluating this current political process as an erosion of acceptance of progressive values, or certain progressive values. One entity named Damon Linker wrote in The Week that the left just got crushed. Let's read the bottom part of this article. There will be no court packing, no added states. I think he is assuming that Biden will get into office. Nothing from the toxic progressive fantasy wish list will come anywhere close to passing. Instead, we will have grinding, obstructive gridlock. Some will demand that Biden push through progressive priorities by executive order. But every time he does, like every incident of urban rioting and looting, every effort to placate the left-wing squad in the House, every micro-targeted identity politic, box-checking display of intersectional moral preening and finger-wagging, that was a delight to read, thank you, Mr. Damon, the country will move closer to witnessing a conservative backlash that results in Republicans taking control of the House and increasing their margin in the Senate in November 2022, rendering the Biden administration even more fully dead in the water. I think that if the Republicans want to get their act together, they will need to reevaluate how populism works in their party. The hardline Trump MAGA base will be there, but they are going to have to take a hit to their pride and participate in coalition building. Centrists need to participate in coalition building with Republicans and with Democrats, and to really stock up centrist voices and to figure out where those voices are and make sure that those voices are supported so that they don't have to run to the radicals to galvanize their base. I don't know how that's going to affect the liberals, but if they are reading what we're reading right here, they might be wise enough to distance themselves from the defund the police rioting craziness from the progressive left. Will they be able to do that? I've read and I've seen that on the municipal level, politicians on the left allowed for highly energized progressives to take control in order for those moderate liberals to maintain power, because the spill out of the Bernie energy from 2016 infiltrated or galvanized a lot of people to be politically active. But the people that came up into power turned out to be rather radical. If you look at Seattle, you have Kshama Sawant, who's off the reservation in certain respects. I know that's probably a microaggression, and I don't mean any aggression with that microaggression. What happened to the color of our language? It's just going to be seeped away. That's my concern. It's not just the radicals going crazy. It's that the moderates, in their bid to calm down the radicals, will leach all the color out of our language, all the humor out of our comedy, to be non-offensive, because those radicals have gained power. The question is, how do you make those radicals not so powerful anymore? One thing, you don't give them anything to screech about. Two, you destabilize people's acquiescence to the radicals. You give people the space to have a backbone and to push against these hyper-progressive policies. But at least within the academy, I think that ship has either sailed or sunken, and it will be some years before there will be a reversal on the level of the academy to push out the radicals from controlling the narrative and the process of the college. Everything now, as I just read with the University of Michigan and other colleges, will be more and more politically charged, and you will have to be on board with this stuff. It will be an incredible headache, an incredible waste of resources. So the academy itself is out of our hands now. The political process, however, hopefully is more adroit at adapting to the landscape, which has changed. We don't know exactly how it's changed, but it has changed. So that's some bumbly thoughts for Friday morning. It's going to be afternoon by the time I get this up. Hope you guys are doing good. Stay cool, calm, and collected. Don't go overboard with stress about what's going to happen. Hopefully things shake out. In order for them to do so, we need to be patient and resilient. Stand our ground, but don't be beating so many drums that you blast out your own ears. Right? Keep enough quiet in the room for people to actually have a conversation. That's my hope and my prayer. I'll talk to you guys later. Goodbye. Get it, Bodie. Get it.